What advice would you give a junior soldier who is asking for a better concept on how to develop their leadership skills? Welcome to the Evolving Warfighter. My name is Dr. Franklin Annis, and today I'm going to recommend a new model for leadership development to address several of the problems that are found in the current Army leadership development model. After years of studying adult education theory and the approaches the Army uses to educate future leaders, I've come to the conclusion that the current Army leadership development model needs to be immediately replaced. In this video, I'll explain my approach to developing a new concept for leadership development. I believe the concepts presented within the DAPAM 350-58 of institutional training, operational experience, and self-development to be a solid concept on establishing an Army leadership development model. However, we're going to make some slight changes in how we define these concepts. We will begin with the acknowledgement that all three of these concepts heavily influence each other in the leadership abilities of an individual. With this in mind, my first initial thoughts for developing a new model was that of a three-legged stool. It's a fact that a three-legged stool will never wobble. However, trying to describe something as important as Army leadership development by a concept of a stool wasn't very romantic, so I decided to search further. Hopefully a picture of a tripod is one that can be easily recognized by every soldier. In this model, each leg of the tripod represents one of the concepts of operational experience, institutional training, and self-development. The length of these tripod legs represents the time and leadership ability gained by engaging in each one of these concepts. The goal is to raise the height of the tripod, for the height of the tripod represents overall leadership ability. It becomes readily apparent that the best way to maximize leadership ability is to engage in a balanced approach through these three concepts. Soldiers need operational experience to get on-the-job training and experience in leadership. They need institutional training to understand the doctrine and how they should fit into the organization. And they need self-development to drive innovation and to address personal weaknesses in their leadership abilities. Just to explain the negative impacts of not engaging through a balanced approach through these three concepts, we'll give you two examples. The example one is an individual that chooses to engage in mass amounts of operational experience. This might be a soldier that's constantly deploying but never has the time to really engage in the required schooling, nor do they take the time to address their self-development. While their operational leg extends on this tripod, there's nothing to actually lift the machine gun higher, demonstrating that leadership ability is actually gaining. This is an example of a soldier that never takes the time to address their personal weaknesses and doesn't have a good concept of how they fit into the larger doctrine. While they might understand what task needs to be done in a real-life situation, they probably have a misunderstanding of the larger picture. The second example I give to you is an academic soldier, one that goes to all the required training but does not have the operational experience. This might be an individual that spends most of his time either at a schoolhouse or spends most of his career as an instructor. As you can see again, while there is some mild gain in leadership abilities, this approach to leadership development is lacking because he lacks the operational experience where he would have the ability to test the theories presented in institutional training on a live battlefield. Before I leave, I want to give you good definitions for the three legs of this tripod. Operational experience, I'm going to define as on-the-job training. This is practice through doing the job. I.e., if you're a squad leader, you learn the leadership skills of being a squad leader by practicing being a squad leader. This might be doing real-world missions as a squad leader or conducting training inside that role. As long as you're functioning in the role of that position, you are learning and gaining experience for that job. Institutional training is defined as any educational experience outside the leg of operational experience that is required by law, regulation, or direct order. This might mean things such as officers are required to have a civilian bachelor's degree to reach the rank of captain. This might also include things such as a commander might want soldiers to read a certain book for leadership development. If he assigns that by order, he is engaging in the institutional domain. Finally, I'm going to define the concept of self-development as all other learning activities that soldiers voluntarily engage with to improve their own leadership development. Since the Army is heavily dependent on the theory of andragogy, or adult learning, that was pioneered by Malcolm Knowles, I suggest using his formal definition of self-directed learning as our definition for self-development. I would also add the emphasis that self-development is a continual cycle of assessment and reassessment. In this model, all three legs represent a learning intent and not a learning activity to avoid some problems that are found within the current Army leadership development model. I will give you an example of how this works. For example, if we have a 68 whiskey or a health care specialist, they are required to have a National Registry EMTB or Emergency Medical Technician Basic course. If that individual engages and takes that course, since it's required by regulation, they are engaging in institutional training. However, let's say that we have a 25 Bravo or a signal soldier assigned to a medical unit. They realize that their job isn't very critical, and in case of a mass cal, they want to be able to help with the wounded soldiers. So that individual goes out on their own volition and takes in the same course as the medic. Since this course is not required of signal soldiers, that individual is actually engaging in self-development, even though they are engaging in the exact same training. It is the intent that determines what pillar they fall within, and not the actual learning experience. I hope this model gives you a better concept of how to develop your leadership ability. I welcome any comment below. If you have not yet subscribed to the Evolving Warfighter, I encourage you to do so if you wish to see more videos on the topic of leadership development.